Hey, this is Jim McDonald. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge a message that I got on Instagram from Giselle Reynolds on the PowerCast Instagram account. Not always the best place to get a hold of us because sometimes those message requests can sit there for a long time because most of them are just story mentions. So we might just gloss right over them. Anyway, this is in regard to a 5-year-old boy named Andrew who has a primary immune deficiency called GATA2. And it's a mutation that predisposes him to getting AML, a particular type of leukemia. And a bone marrow transplant will cure this disease, but they're having a difficult time finding a match because he's Hispanic, and I guess maybe only about 4% match if you're Hispanic. It's very difficult. So she is asking for anyone who is interested in and so moved to go to bethematch.com and do basically just a swab. They send you a swab and you register as a bone marrow donor and see if you match him or if you see if you match anybody else. This is an opportunity to do something positive and potentially save somebody's life. It is very difficult to match bone marrow, period. So the chances of being called to actually donate bone marrow are not all that great. And there are a couple of different processes that are used to collect marrow if you actually donate. And one of them is very simply just basically like giving blood. Another one is a little more complicated. I don't know the ins and outs of when they use one versus the other, but if you're saving somebody's life, I guess a little bit of discomfort one way or the other is not such a big deal. Anyway, if you feel so moved, go to bethematch.com and look into registering as a bone marrow donor. Okay, so episode 236, we bring in our friend and slingshot teammate and super training teammate, Stephen Lil Smokey Granzella. You've seen him on Mark's channel, I'm sure, quite a bit. You may or may not know that he recently tore a bicep tendon that he had to have repaired, which has obviously changed his training quite a bit. He's lost some weight intentionally in order to just have something to do while he's waiting to heal. And he also talks about a birth defect that he was born with that has caused him to have over 20 surgeries over the course of his life, which is kind of a big deal. We also talk about my float tank experience and a bunch of other things. So anyway, join us in this episode. Like and share it. We'll be back on Wednesday with Joel Jameson, who's Mighty Mouse Johnson's trainer. We'll see you then. Support for this episode of the PowerCast comes from Precision Nutrition. Go to get.pn/PowerCast for your free book on the role of genetics in fitness and nutrition. That's get.pn/PowerCast. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifting Shoe, the official shoe of the PowerCast at Reebok.com. 8Man Strong apparel for people who lift heavy weights at 8manstrong.com. Compex Muscle Stim products at CompexUSA.com. Use the code PowerCast for an additional 28% off all but the lowest price model. HowMuchYouBench.net. Use the code PowerCast for 15% off slingshots and free shipping on orders over $100. And Bodybuilding.com, the world's largest fitness website and supplement store. Bodybuilding.com has free plans for every level. Visit bodybuilding.com today to become your best self.
Recorded live in West Sacramento, California, this is Mark Bell's PowerCast. Standing just to the left of Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
But yeah, I need to work on that.
Yeah, for some reason they claim that you need like 40 grams of fiber a day. That's like just like a USDA recommendation, I think.
I know I don't get that usually.
That sounds excessive, but
sounds like a lot.
Because I don't know, like if you were to eat like some spinach.
Yeah.
I mean, would you get 5 grams? Like if you ate, a decent size.
Some foods that the fiber content's through the roof, and then some you think it's through the roof and it's nothing.
A lot of artificial stuff has a lot, like a Quest bar.
Yeah.
15
That's
grams.
why I just need a Quest bar every day.
There you go. Squash has a ton of fiber. Trying to think what else. Apples have fiber, but they also have pectin.
Damn,
Fiber is a
pectin.
weird thing because it can like speed up your digestion and kind of slow it down, and it requires a certain amount of water.
Yeah.
And it gets to be confusing.
It definitely requires. I mean, how much water are you getting?
Like a gallon, a little bit, gallon to gallon and a half every day.
I might need to start to measure my water because I've been getting like pretty bad cramps in my legs, like at night when I go to sleep.
After leg workouts or in general?
Well, I did a leg workout yesterday, but it's been kind of in general anyway.
That's kind of interesting.
I mean, because I train my lower body every day almost anyway.
To some extent, yeah.
I do the tank or something. Yesterday I did the bike, and I went pretty hard on the bike.
Row machine.
Makes sense. I went hard on the rower. But, I mean, I've been training forever. I shouldn't be
Correct.
There should be something that helps me with that. And I've been trying to do all kinds of stuff. I've been trying salt.
I haven't seen you with your salt shaker in the gym lately.
Yeah, I have been using it, but I don't know if maybe I need to use more. Maybe I'm using too much. Like, I need to maybe, like, measure it out a little bit because I don't really have an idea of how much I'm taking in.
Potassium,
yeah. I have a supplement called Keto Vitals, which is just capsules. And it has some sodium and magnesium and potassium and stuff like that in it. So I do take that. I don't know if that's, like, not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I think it's kind of a combination, I think is what they usually say. Is like you need, like, a good combination of three, and apparently I'm not figuring that out for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what other kinds there are. I just always view fiber as fiber.
Yeah. Well,
adding in carbs too is also carbohydrate. It hydrates your body.
helps.
It helps, but it hurts because it requires more water.
Yeah.
So in some ways, and then too much water can dehydrate you.
Yep.
So you can
lose.
Yeah, you can get really fucked over.
Because there are soluble fibers and non-soluble fibers.
Okay.
The non-soluble fibers tend to be the ones that kind of push things through more.
Blow you out.
Yeah.
I need a bunch of those.
Yeah.
How much weight you lost recently, Smokey?
I've dropped 20 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 20 pounds in like 4 months.
And you're still fat.
Oh, I'll always be husky. It's husky.
The YouTube has been claiming that you're on steroids.
Just gassed out of my skull.
Yeah, people are people are talking about how jacked he is.
How can you be 5'6", 177, and no abs? Steroids.
And steroids.
Yeah.
I did see a vein popping out during training.
I might have been like pushing on it or something, like manipulating my body.
Is that
a little
new?
bit.
Have you had that before?
I mean, it's deep down there somewhere. I mean, they've always been there.
Have you had it during a training session before? Your veins
Yeah,
are kinda popping
I'll
out?
get arm veins. I won't get veins anywhere else.
That's kind of me too. Although they will eventually show up on my legs, but they're more arms.
I have a lot of hair on my legs, so I'm not sure if I'll ever see that.
Yeah.
Why do you have so much hair?
Just genetics.
You're so
Dad's
furry.
like a gorilla.
You're so furry. It's kind of gross.
So
It's very
So are
gross.
you currently shaving your chest? Is that what it is? Because I've seen.
Yeah, I would.
Bare
Without getting
boobage
into
lately.
too much detail around the waistline.
what you shave. Yeah, what you shave and what you don't shave.
Yeah, so I'll just
That should
roughly
be a
say
question
the
for everybody
waistline
in
up is pretty much shaved. Yeah. Luckily, I don't have hair on my back yet. I do know
I
that's
have
possible for it to come.
So Smokey has been obsessed with me shaving, and a couple other dudes too.
Well, it's
Have been
important. It
obsessed.
means a lot to us.
Yeah, so I actually have a special treat for him today.
Oh,
I'm doing a photo shoot today.
yeah. And
War on Carbs photo shoot
for the book,
for the book.
nice.
And you can't do a photo shoot without being shaved up, right?
Do I get the honor?
Well, I'm not going to shave myself.
Oh, nice.
Jim, this is where you should probably leave.
Yeah. This is gonna be. This
Yeah,
is gonna.
But the cameras will be running.
yeah, get behind the camera
This is
and whack
exciting.
off, of course.
Because I feel like I look.
I brought the clippers.
I feel like I look a lot better with a shaved chest, and I look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And since you've dropped so much weight and you look so jacked, that's why I've been saying I think it's gonna make you look great.
It might.
You'll go from okay to great.
It might. The other thing that's happened to me though is I've gotten pale because the fucking sun ran away. So
There's a couple light bulbs behind
Yeah.
you. We'll put them up to your skin for a few hours.
Spray tan.
I'll have to touch it up in post production.
Do they have like on-site spray tan? Like
We have
They
to
do
like
sometimes.
a bodybuilding show.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like with you can get your car detailed, or you're gonna get major work done on your car in the parking
in the
lot of
parking
this
lot,
building.
Mobile. Yep. Yeah. Well, we just moved here, so maybe we can convert one of the offices into a
yeah.
spray tan
Into a
room.
spray tan
Yeah.
booth.
And
That'd be
in bed.
For
That'd
every
be
training
awesome.
session.
I don't tan at all, so that's really kind of my only option. I've never done it, but And I don't. If I shave things, it does not look good.
Well, your skin's too sensitive, right?
My skin's pretty sensitive, and I'm pale as fuck. So
Yeah, so it can be dangerous, right?
yeah,
I mean, you can get sunburned pretty
yeah,
easy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you just gotta go fake and just rattle
fake.
can it.
Fake bake. I think a fake bake would be hard for him though too.
It would look really good.
I think he might.
He'd be very red.
Well, I think he might get burnt.
Very, very red.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I think that's all what happens is
Yeah.
you get burnt.
for the most part, that's true. Yeah, I get a little farmer's tan kind
Yeah.
of thing on my arms if I.
Summertime, I do see you with the farmer's tan.
But at this point, I'm 54
You have it
years
right
old. This
now.
is like sun damage by this point, I think.
Possibly.
But and I've never had the guts to do the melanotan, the
Oh,
Yeah, melanotan. Yeah,
melanotan. Yeah,
yeah, just injectable tanning.
Why
yeah.
don't we all do that?
Yeah, that's great. I've done it before. It's
Year
awesome.
round.
It can be splotchy.
Yeah, it can be a little weird.
Is the problem, and as one of our members found out, it will get your member kind of more
Yeah,
than
he
other
took-
places.
Yeah, he took kind of a lot of it because he was reading about like
Wait,
how
was
you
this
need
in
to.
SEMA?
He was born a white child.
Yeah.
His name was Josh.
Yeah. He turned into a
Turned him into a fucking Nigerian sculpted Adonis.
Yeah.
How do we sign up for that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll take a shot of that.
Take a few.
Oh my god,
Absolutely.
you lost weight recently too, Jim?
Yeah, yeah. We're roughly 20 pounds. Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Eating less.
Stop being less fat.
I
Stop being so fat. Too
So
fat.
fat. Got to be too fat.
I did more than one thing. I think that initially I just I cut way back on alcohol, like to the point of almost not drinking anything at all, and cut way back on just like the extra carbs.
Before you started like paying attention to it, did you try to ease your way into some form of diet where you're like, oh, you know what, I'm too fat, I want to lose weight, and did you just try to like make some cutbacks before you like went all in on any sort of diet plan?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I just I backed off on certain things. I didn't really change like how much I was eating at meals. I was just cutting out kind of extra calories, and then and you like no ice cream for the most part. I'm just a huge ice cream fan. I could eat ice cream every damn night.
Getting used to the eating is what I try to promote to people the most is try not to worry too much about the calories, try not to worry about how much you're consuming, try not to worry too much about even your exercise program at the moment. Just try to get some momentum, try to get some things heading in the right direction, and maybe you start to try to plan, when you're going to eat, so you're not, so you're setting yourself up for success.
Right.
You're not allowing failure to kind of creep in, because we all love food, like none of us at this table are any different when it comes to food. Like we see pizza, we have a certain reaction to it. We fucking love it. I mean, that's probably why we chose powerlifting, because we want to have a little extra weight on our body, and we all love food, but trying to just get into a rhythm of getting used to the foods that are going to give you the body that you want is the most difficult thing. And I think a lot of people, I don't really hear a lot of nutritionists and people that are giving information about nutrition on the internet talk about it enough, but it could take you 2 months. It could take you 2 months just to, not even to lose any weight. It could take you almost 2 months just to even get moving forward on a diet, just to get the swing of it and just to get the rhythm of it and the timing of it and to get used to the meals that you're supposed to eat.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but what I did at the beginning was just a little bit of intermittent fasting to kind of cut down on my
I
appetite.
love intermittent fasting. It's great.
So even just 12s, 12s a few times a week really help. Coffee is important in that too, I think.
Right.
But and then I just did a 24 this week, but I would approach it differently next time. I would not. Also did float tank for the first time, the same day, and you're not supposed to have caffeine for at least 6 hours before you do float tank, because you're supposed to be able to relax and your heart rate's supposed to be able to come down. And mine did not come down, and I could like hear my heart beating in my ears. You
Drum roll.
In the water. Just
because
going
you're floating in that super salty water. They give you sort of waxy earplugs to stick in your ears so you don't get any water in your ears.
Right.
If that's what you want. I'm one of those people that
Is the water cold, hot, or?
it's body temperature.
Oh.
So you don't even feel it after a bit.
So it might feel a little cold when you get in, though.
Just a little
Or
bit,
is
but
it more like
not
80?
noticeably. No, it's
Oh, it's in the 90s.
it's 90.
that's
It's
crazy.
Oh, okay.
it's
Or
98.4,
something.
I think, which is
Oh, okay.
pretty warm.
So it feels a little warm when you get in.
Yeah, it feels.
But after you're sitting there for a minute, you don't.
You stop feeling the sensation of the temperature because it's not doesn't feel like it's a different.
So if you fart
temperature.
quite a bit, does it become a hot tub? Like a jacuzzi?
I
It
don't.
has to.
You would think, but the
But it's
the-
enclosed, right? So
It is enclosed,
It's just
yeah.
gonna all keep going
Into the salt?
circulating.
I'll throw a picture into the stream of what it looks like, but basically
Get those air bubbles through the salt granules.
basically because you're removing gravity from the equation, there isn't kind of anything to push that gas out. So I don't remember farting at all.
Maybe it's revolutionary technology that could really help us out
That's
here.
the anti-farting, just go in a float tank.
Maybe so. I don't know because I'm normally farting all the time.
Yeah, me too. Right now.
right now.
Yeah, we have some offenders in the gym, but it's usually not too bad. Every once in a while, you get crop dusted in there.
Yeah, I might be one of the worst. I do it a lot before. I'll gather a bunch of spotters and everything to help me, and then I'll just rip mid-lift or even right before I go. And I can't help it. Like, I have no control over it.
Well, I think when you're lifting and you're trying to get big and you're trying to have frequent meals and stuff, and so we're kind of it's like wired into our brain that we need protein and we need to eat, and maybe your stomach rumbles here and
A
there,
little too much protein.
or your ass rumbles a little bit here and there because you. I think you just start to accept it. You're like, oh yeah, it's probably normal. Like I'm gonna have, especially just being a dude. You're like, it's part of being a dude, right?
It's
like
totally. Last night I had really bad gas and I had to get up off the couch. My wife was sitting watching TV. And I had to leave the room about every 2 to 3 minutes for the entire hour show.
You know what is annoying is when you have unexplainable bad gas. Like sometimes you just like every once in a while you just have it and everything you can think of that you ate in the whole day is totally normal.
Yeah, no excess onions or
there was
garlic
nothing,
or any of that kind of
nothing
stuff.
weird happened. Like when you eat a bowl of ice cream or eat a bunch of pizza, and if you have trouble with lactose or gluten or something, then you could
it
kind
makes
of
sense. Yeah,
yeah,
it makes
it
sense.
can be
Like,
like,
all right.
yeah, you can blame it on that thing, and then Andy's always like, oh yeah, I'm sure it was the air you inhaled, because she's like, you'll blame anything.
It was the filtered water.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But sometimes it's like that.
I know. Sometimes just drop an ass for no
Yeah,
reason.
sometimes it's just out of the blue. But like a couple weeks ago, I was sick. Actually, we canceled a show for the first time that I can ever remember because I was sick.
Because you're farting.
Yeah, and well,
Yeah.
Now the truth comes out.
That's why the
That's
float
what that
tank.
text
Then he
was
needed the
for.
float tank.
I was
that's
wondering what that green vapor was that you sent in the text.
that's how it turned out. I'd felt kind of
Just
bad
had
for
to
a
fart
couple
for
of
4
days.
minutes straight.
I felt bad for a couple of days, and then my stomach was really upset for a while there. Very upset. I was like nauseated all the time, and then after that, everything I ate gave me just vicious, like toxic gas, and
Hungry.
my office doesn't have any ventilation to the outside world, and
I just picture a bunch of dead plants around him at the moment.
I literally had to walk down to the Rite Aid and buy like air freshener
Spray.
Oh,
and turn on a fan in there to circulate the air because it was just so
Why
bad.
can't we just invent like they make those like dust buster things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Like
like
if we take the
just
dust
sucks the
buster
air
and we
out.
take the technology that we saw on Ghostbusters and we combine the two,
and that's been around
maybe we
since
can
the
make like a
80s.
fucking ass buster or fart buster.
Yeah.
you just throw it in the middle of the room and it
just
sucks
sucks it right in.
all the methane out of the
I
room.
mean, I guess I wouldn't know what you'd do
I-
with the remains.
I probably would go
Maybe
into
use
that
it for energy.
the big containment
Maybe
tank.
there's like a canister or something like sets it on fire, like burns it. Like,
Well, that sounds dangerous.
but it's like its own little. It's self-contained.
Sounds dangerous.
Self-contained explosion.
Not like the situation in Ghostbusters where they
fuel a
cut
car.
the power and then
Yeah.
the ghosts
just-
overtook New York City.
Don't they fuel some like farms and stuff like that with the
Methane.
horse or the cow
Yeah,
manure and stuff
yeah,
like
they
that?
do.
right?
Yeah, it's methane. Also,
Those
I don't know.
cows are eating a hole in the ozone layer. I'm kind of
That's
jealous.
true.
No, they actually say that.
isn't
Yeah,
that insane?
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And the
That's because we feed them shit that they're not supposed to eat.
Yeah.
that
And
yeah
then we eat 'em.
exactly that's true.
God knows what.
But
That's fucked up.
that area over by Cal Expo, which is California State Fair for
Yeah.
people who are not there was a landfill there, and they actually farm methane there now.
Oh my God!
You can actually see the things in the
How come we
ground
haven't been invited?
that accumulate.
PG&E was just here last week. Why have they not asked for like
We've been farming
hookup?
methane here for years.
We could be here. We have like rent free if they just utilize the space.
There's a very noisy fan in that bathroom. I'm sure
my
that they could
God.
probably be extracting methane with it.
Big ass fan.
Super
That bathroom
trained gym
stinks
representing.
too. Just by the way,
I cannot wait till we get that thing fixed.
It's bad. I
Well,
don't.
It's the
what it-
urinal.
At the urinal.
Yeah.
It's the urinal.
But what did they used to do here? Just pee on the floor?
100% because the floor is coming up in the same.
It looks like it
urinal is.
went behind the linoleum, and now the linoleum's all pulled up. So all that's probably
Well,
urine
I think the
crystals.
only way to
They-
fix it is to light the building on fire.
They closed down. I think for a while before the company used to be here 5 years ago closed down. They knew it was going to happen. So maybe it got to a point where the employees just pissed everywhere.
pissed everywhere.
Could care less for a year,
Yeah, I heard this place was empty for 5 years.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, Casey said just like, oh my God,
That's pretty crazy.
it's a long time.
that's maybe longer than the last place that we moved into was open.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that place was vacant too for probably almost similar amount of
Maybe.
time. Yeah, they just let it all go to hell. But Jim, you were mentioning that you got stuck with your diet a little bit, and then I think you were kind of saying that you feel like you still feel better though on a daily basis.
You know, I feel better, and my clothes are fitting differently and stuff. I have had to retire my fat pants and
Your maternity pants,
move into my transitional pants. Lately,
Transition pants. Yeah.
you know, the ones in between, because I'm really trying to lose more weight. I'm trying to
I
lose.
thought you were going to tell us you want to be a female.
No,
I know what kind of transition.
No
we're talking.
judgments.
no, not. Well, everybody has like a fat wardrobe and a skinny wardrobe, right? Well, I'm trying. This is
It's
my
really bad when
Or
you're.
you just don't accept that you're the fat wardrobe and you
That's
still wear your
true, yeah.
skinny wardrobe.
Oh my God,
That's
that's happened here a lot.
Yeah.
Welcome to the last 5 years for me.
Oh my God. We've talked about that
don't
before. So
accept
we've
it.
talked in the past about too fat and so fat, but we also have talked quite a bit about the difference between something being like tight and something just no longer fitting at all.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
big difference.
Seems
Yeah.
busting.
You know, like if you're half size off, it's like not that big a deal. It's like, oh, Smokey's wearing a tighter shirt, like he's gonna work out today, like not a big deal. But but if you're wearing one like where your belly's showing, it's like it's like that thing gave up on you a long time ago. Why are you still wearing that?
when you look like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah.
There's a name for that. I can never remember it.
Yeah, it's gross.
I'd Google it if we had internet, but we don't.
Oh my God.
Soon.
We do need to look up a little bit more information about farts.
Yeah.
Chance. I know Andy Galpin told us that it was food fermenting in your stomach.
Yeah, that's what
And
it
I'm like,
is,
that's disgusting.
That sounds terrible.
yeah. So you just went to see Andy, right?
Yeah, he fucking ripped a chunk of my leg out.
Well, that was not very nice of him.
I know, he's an asshole. He did a muscle biopsy on me and my bro. We're shooting a movie, nutrition, and that's what Andy Galpin does. He's a researcher and scientist and does muscle biopsies and then all kinds of different tests on muscle, on strength, on nutrition, how the body is reacting to certain things. And
Yeah.
it was really interesting to talk to him, interesting to know how some of these tests are conducted, and then also very interesting on recognizing and starting to have a better understanding of how difficult it is to even run a fucking test.
Yeah.
For example, they did a rack deadlift test for me, isometric test, and they tested my overall force output. But then they also tested what is called rate of force development, which is how long it takes you to get to that peak force.
Get the maximum force.
And by the way, assholes, I may be a little bit off of my verbiage here, but you get the point. You
This
understand
is
what
not
I'm
a
saying.
science program.
Yeah, I'm not James Smith. But anyway, that's what they were kind of testing. But it's only within the confines of that one test. So technically, what you're trying to pull from this research is, let's say Smokey's a football player, and we have him do this test.
Makes sense.
And it takes him 2 seconds to generate peak force. Well, then we might be able to say, hey, you know, like you're a running back and you're supposed to be a third down back because you're a smaller guy. Your first step has to be the most electrifying thing anybody's ever seen for you to stay on the field, since you're not a 240-pound running back that's going to, be in there for 3rd and 1. You're the guy they're going to throw screens to and give draws to, and you got to be quick as fucking hell.
Right.
So we can kind of make an assumption. We can say, okay, you're not getting up to max speed fast enough. We need to figure out a bunch of different things, and we could start with diet, because we can see like, okay, well maybe he's too fat.
Not so fat.
You can start out with just adjustments of someone's body composition can have a huge effect on how well they move their own body. Think about pull-ups. Like if you lose 5 pounds, how much easier is a pull-up? So if you lost 5 pounds but maintained some strength, you'd technically be able to move really fucking fast, right? And so those are the things that you can kind of extract from those tests, but it's still only within the confines of the test itself. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he can't generate full speed and power on a football field when the ball is snapped. But you can kind of make the assumption of that might be an area that might be a problem for him, and then you can kind of assess it a bunch of different ways simply by talking to him. You can say, yeah, actually, you know what? Like it does take me a minute to get up to max speed. When I run my 40, halfway through is the only time I feel like I'm actually moving fast, and everybody else kicks my ass off the line or whatever. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are concerned about the genetics thing being predetermining. Like if you take a genetic test before you actually look at performance and say, oh, you'll never be able to do X, Y, or Z because of whatever.
Right.
And furthermore, like Gattaca, where you're afraid that people who are genetically defective are going to be born, and so you
abort
those babies.
Just because you're not born with well off, or you're not born with great genetics, doesn't mean you can't have an awesome fucking life. You know, and so somebody who comes into super training gym that already deadlifts 700 pounds, it's going to be pretty damn easy to get them to an 800-pound deadlift. Somebody who comes in only deadlifting 500, we may never see them deadlift 700.
Right.
And we probably will never see them, unless they're young or unless they're brand new to training, probably never see them deadlift 800. They just don't have the genetics for it. However, they can still make a ton of progress and still feel really good about themselves and still progress, on a daily basis. So the genetic thing is a weird one because it really does make a fucking huge difference. If you're genetic, a while back we were talking about MMA and we started listing off all these guys that were in good shape, and we're like, oh shit, almost everybody we rattled off is black. And I don't know what the genetics say for a lot of that stuff, but a lot of the guys that were mentioned, we were thinking, some of these guys, from people that actually know them, people that are actually in their camp and people have actually been around them a lot, say like nutrition's not something they even really worry about that much. They just go ahead and they eat whatever way they eat. And I know some people may view that as like fucking racist or whatever, but it's just the facts. I'm not saying that there's not some white dudes that have that as well.
Yeah,
because there certainly are. But the less shit you have to worry about, the better off you're going to be, is the main point of that, the whole thing. Because if he has to worry about every meal and I don't, now I have an advantage. I can worry about something else.
Yeah.
I can worry about being faster. I can worry about being stronger, and I can spend more time somewhere else. But the more shit you have to worry about, the harder it's going to be, the more chips that are stacked against you.
And the diet thing is super time consuming. If it's a critical part of the equation, it's very time consuming. Unless somebody's just delivering you meals and every single meal, and there's somebody else determining what the calories and macros look like for all of those meals, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, and even all that would be hard too, because I think you would want to deviate. You'd be like, oh, this is great. I'm getting chicken and sweet potato every couple of meals, but then after a while you'd be like, I feel like going to Chipotle.
Right. And I'm one of those people that can eat the same meal over and over again. That's why when I see people, put up their meal prep pictures on Instagram and shit, I'm thinking, if I had to eat that same combination of things every fucking day, I would swing from the rafters, because it's just boring. I mean, I like food to taste good and be interesting and
one thing
have
about
variation.
I agree. One thing about, something like intermittent fasting or a ketogenic style diet, I think it can get you to a point. Andy Galpin touched upon it a little bit on our podcast when he talked about metabolic flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Metabolic flexibility, in very short terms, is just basically your body's ability to utilize any energy resource without feeling all kinds of fucked up. Mm-hmm. In short, right? So if you go 10 hours with no food, you're not like, fuck, man, I'm dying. What the fuck? I need food. And you're not hangry. You're not all jacked up and weird feeling because you didn't eat for a little bit, because you're not a glucose monster. You have adapted your body to be able to A, run off of glucose, and B, also be able to run off of fat, be able to run off of ketones and whatever the hell else it needs. So I think that that's a spot that a lot of people need to figure out how to get to. It's not easy, because you'd have to restrict your carbohydrates for a while. You'd have to utilize some intermittent fasting to be able to kind of starve off that hunger hormone. The hunger hormone, I think hunger, as I dig deeper into some of this stuff, I think hunger is really our main battle, because it's not because people are hungry all the time. There's a lack of food. It's just that people, when they're hungry, they make shitty choices. It's almost like being drunk. Mm-hmm. You can't shop hungry. You're going to end up with tons of bullshit in your cart.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
You've done that one before?
Yeah, too often.
And I think we've talked recently about the fact that I think most people know what's healthy for them and what's not, and they just rationalize away what they're eating, figuring that they'll get back to it later, or
I agree.
Or it won't have that bad an impact if they do it this one time, but this one time is like every day, or
it's not any different than being addicted to anything else,
Yeah.
After Jim's birthday party, I'm gonna stop drinking. After this happens, after that happens, once the holidays are done, I'm going all in, and I'm gonna get a gym membership.
January 1st.
Yeah, right. And it's hard with food, because food's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, and you get so addicted to it, and the cycle of sugar and stuff it's really strong. So you've been stuck with your body weight a little bit more recently. Are you trying to do anything different now to lose more weight, or are you comfortable where you're at?
That was part of the reason why I did the 24. I'm going to start doing at least 124 a week, because it just reduces your total calories, regardless of anything else that might happen. It just reduces your total calories as long as you don't go hog wild, refeeding afterwards.
Yeah, which is not great for your stomach anyway.
So no. And just in the meals that I've had since that 24, I've shifted toward mostly protein,
right?
Very little carb, and not a whole lot of fat either. And then I'll give that a couple days, and then I'll flip over to kind of more fat, lower carb, medium protein for a couple of days, and just see what happens, because I don't even know.
No, you're doing the right thing, because once you go through this phase, the next phase will be, you will like, all right, well, I tried some fasting, and I, who knows, you lose 5 pounds, right? And we're talking again, and it's a month from now, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to, what's the opposite of eating less? I'm just fucking try to eat more.
Yeah.
All right, I tried less carbs. Maybe I should try more carbs. Or I tried more carbs. Maybe I should try less carbs.
You can't continually eat less.
Yeah, right.
Because you're
get to zero real quick.
Yeah, your metabolism adapts to that and just slows down. And I don't know that how much science is behind the whole metabolic damage thing, but I do know that people who have very calorie restricted diets over a longer period of time kind of get in trouble when they start to eat again.
I think in some ways that you are what you are,
That too,
Even if you get yourself really lean, if you are always heavy, it's not that, I don't think it's that much different than having like an addiction. And you need to be careful. You need to be careful what you do with your choices, because you might slip back down into that rabbit hole. I mean, here in the United States, we have thousands and thousands of people lose, hundreds of thousands of pounds only just to gain it all back again. I think it's something like, I could be wrong, but I want to say it's higher than 80%. It might be closer to 90%.
It's so high that, and I think I've talked about this before too. It's so high that like Kaiser does bariatric surgeries pretty much for free.
Yeah,
and they tell you in the intake classes that diets always fail. Like only 5% of people ever keep the weight off. Now I don't know exactly that that's true.
Let's just double it. Say 10.
But
Still
but it's still
low.
not a
Substantially
lot.
low. It's
It's
terrible.
and because and we all know it's because people don't really change their habits.
So I think amongst the 10%, and you can get studies to show you anything, and this is something that I just heard, so it could not even be 100% accurate, but it was something of the people that do lose weight, a common thing that they have that helps them keep it off is that they exercise often.
Yeah.
They just simply exercise more often than they don't, which is 4 times a week. I mean, sometimes you just have to to apply some common sense. I mean,
It's easier said than done
Yeah,
sometimes.
I know, because it's not all that common, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, what if you were just to think about it? Hey, we got 7 days in a week, and for 4 days I'm going to exercise, and that's more often than not, right? And then for 4 days I'm going to choose to eat a little healthier, and the 3 days I'm going to not care as much, but not go crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that would work. You would be
Yeah,
in good
step
shape.
in the right direction for
Right.
sure.
I have to tell you a stupid thing that happened to me the other day. It was Friday night, and it was like 10 o'clock. And I'm thinking back on the week, and it's like, God, I didn't really get in as much cardio as I intended to this week.
I saw your post. You were at the
Midnight
gym
or
at
something.
midnight.
Yeah, and I was like, shit, I'm just gonna go. It was probably 10:30 when I left the house. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go do some cardio, and then I'll come home and go to bed. So I got down there and I did about 45 minutes of cardio, and then I thought, well, I'll do a
Anything in
little
particular, or just treadmill or
elliptical
elliptical or something?
treadmill and a little bit of recumbent bike.
You like to go
10 minutes. Yeah,
Like to go from one to the other so you're not bored. to
Yeah,
death.
yeah.
Music, podcasts. What do you got?
Podcast usually. Yeah. And there was something on TV too that I was sort of watching the images but listening to something else. You know,
With your mind somewhere else.
With
too.
your mind.
It's a fucking wonderful thing. It's like, how do you not throw out your back doing all that, right? Like,
Yeah.
how does your body not just short circuit and you shit yourself or something, right? Like something really crazy something really crazy should happen when all that's happening.
but and then I thought, well, I can there's machines and stuff. I can do a little bit of fluff and buff before I got here because I'm not all that sleepy yet. So I did some stuff. Just wander from machine to machine and do 2 or 3 different things for the
How
fuck
good
of
did
it.
you feel though once you went to the one machine and did a couple reps, right? I mean, you did 1 or 2 sets probably, and you're probably I feel pretty fucking good. And you went through a few more, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So
Even if you're a little sluggish, it makes you feel great.
So I go downstairs to my car, and I realize that there are a lot of cars in the lot trying to leave. There was an Amway convention
Ooh.
at the arena, and a lot of the people attending were not perhaps native English speakers, so they did not understand that they had to prepay for their parking because the attendant doesn't take money.
That's great.
Typically, and the line was really long. So I thought, shit, it's going to take me forever to get out of here, and I don't want to just sit in the car. Plus, I was parked in.
There was you can get out.
Yeah, there were two lanes of traffic trying to get out. So I thought, I'll go walk the neighborhood for a while, which is not the greatest neighborhood in the world, but there are a lot of people out. Sure. So I walked for about 40 minutes. And then I came back, and it was just as bad as it had been when I left.
That's the worst.
I don't think that the cars had moved at all. And I was like, shit. And there's a guy walking back who had been to his car, was walking back toward the gym. Is like, I'm going to go work out for another hour because it's going to take that long to get out of here. And I was like, fuck, you're right. You're right. It makes sense. So I went back in the gym, did another half-hour cardio.
That's great.
And some more fluff and buff stuff, a little heavier, whatever. And then by 2 o'clock in the morning, it was possible to get out of the parking garage. But at that point, I had passed my 3-hour validation, and so it didn't want to let me out without paying $1.25. And there wasn't an attendant there, and I was like, hang on. I couldn't leave earlier. And she's like, oh, no, I won't make you pay that. I said, what the heck happened? She said, oh, the arena didn't tell us, because normally what that lot becomes like a $40 or $50 lot, so that it preserves parking spaces for the gym.
Gotcha.
So they had not told them that, so they didn't have their sign up. So all these people parked there because it's one of the closest parking lots to the gym, to the arena, and did not understand that they needed to pay, and probably would not have been happy if the $40 or $50 thing had been implemented. So so I got home at after 2:00 in the morning.
Big snafu trying to do
It was
cardio.
a big snafu trying to do cardio.
That's what you get for doing cardio.
Yeah, I know, but it's so necessary for me, at least. I don't know about everybody else in the world, but it is.
It's exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't get enough of it in the way that you want, I mean, if you're 25 years old and you're new to strength training, you probably don't really need to do any cardio, because you can probably perform every exercise in the gym with efficiency and not have any pain. You can probably do leg extensions, leg curls, stiff leg deadlift, squats, and leg press, and so on. You can probably do all these things that are going to expend a ton of energy.
Yeah.
And maybe you're just active because maybe you're in school and you walk from class to class, and there's maybe you're active in your job or something. But as we get older, a lot of times, stuff hurts, and it's like, okay, I'm going to cut that exercise out. All right, I can't do that. I wish I could still do that. And there's a couple things that you start to cut out, and then you end up with you're only doing some variation of about 5 or 10 different exercises, and you're not doing a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to figure out, do I walk? Do I fucking jog? Do I get on an Aerodyne bike? Mark Sisson and a few others are big proponents of sprints. You just get on something and you just sprint 6 to 8 times for approximately 30 seconds. You go as hard as you can. And the energy expenditure that goes on with something like that is huge. And you can rest as much as you want, because you're not training necessarily for conditioning. So if you wanted to haul ass out of there, you can, and you're fit enough, you can go every 30 seconds. But the object, what you're trying to do is you're trying to go really hard and produce a ton of force. So you're expending a ton of energy. So if you don't rest long enough, then you're kind of screwed. So you probably need almost a legitimate 2 minutes, every time you do it. But those tests came out years ago, and a lot of people have found it to be very effective. And you can get on a piece of cardio equipment and spend 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You can also lift that way. You can do your workout that way. You don't
balls out for a few sets.
Yeah. You go in and Arthur Jones, Mike Menser, Dorian Yates, Sergio Olivier, Arnold to a certain extent. But Arnold, he ended up doing a lot more stuff. But Arnold would do. It's actually interesting. There was some of the original bodybuilders, they would superset. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh, superset, that's cool. Like, okay, you do one exercise and then you do another one. And then Sergio Olivier came around and he started doing 3 exercises in a row. And then other people started to copy that. Well, and he was like, well, fuck this. I got to step my shit up. So he started doing 4 exercises in a row. And sometimes it would be opposing muscle groups, but most of the time it would be the same. So you would do a seated curl with your palms up. Then you might do a hammer curl. Then you might stand up and do a reverse curl and then flip the bar around and do a regular curl. Smokey's kind of training. Yeah. You like that kind of stuff, right?
I'm fired up about that, yeah. I love, I know I look like crap, but bodybuilding's, that's where my heart's at.
Handsome.
Yeah. You're being a little, either you're being hard on yourself, or...
What did you decide the number was? What, 7?
Out of 20, yeah.
Oh, it's out of 20. Oh, it's out of 20.
The ST scale's out of 20, not your traditional 10.
It's out of 220.
Yeah, I love bodybuilding. I like benching, as I know you guys know that, but accessories, I'm all about accessories.
I like it too. I like the feel of it.
Yeah. I like it. You feel the most. Yeah, doing a couple heavy singles or doubles might feel good, but to hit, like I said, a 15 or 20 or something, or even failure on a lift feels great.
Jim, as you gotten older, has it been easier to admit and put your hands up and be like, yeah, you know what? I was fucking wrong about that. It's a little easier to do that sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I've noticed that with myself. Like, a lot of times, if I saw someone using a Smith machine, I was like, this motherfucker. This guy's at war with me. I want to fucking kill this guy. I want to slice his fucking legs off. because I would be frustrated that they don't, like, how do they not know about powerlifting? Or how do they not know, they should be doing barbell exercises? And why is somebody on a fucking machine? Why is someone doing pec deck or cable cross, But as I've gotten older and as I've seen the results that people can get and, what those machines are actually for, I've been like, that was probably a mistake.
Yeah.
The something like a Smith machine, what's an easier way to have a good, hard, challenging workout? Doing a regular squat or using a Smith machine.
Yeah.
Something like a Smith machine or a leg press could be easier because you could, we spend all this time, in here, a lot of guys are foam rolling, and a lot of guys are warming up with the hip circle and doing all these different movements to get their body ready for this workout. Well, if you're on a machine, you don't really need to do much of that at all.
Yeah, you're in a fixed spot, so you can just hop in and go.
I would maybe argue that you don't need to do any. Maybe you walk on the treadmill for a few minutes, or maybe you walk to the gym or
do
something.
a warm-up set, really, just half the weight and do a set or two.
Yeah, so time efficiency, you can really cram that workout into a short period of time and get a lot out of it.
Yeah, the Smith machines at the 24 that I go to a couple days a week here.
That gym looks pretty cool. I've seen some of the stuff you posted, and it's got the turf and stuff.
It's got
like that.
turf. Yeah, they do.
Cool. It looks different than 24-hour 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Cool.
I think, but the Smith machines are the hardest to get on.
Yeah,
For sure. There are constantly people on them, and you know what? Whatever. People feel like they're doing something. Usually, the people that you see using it are not slobs either. Yeah. Actually, because it was very empty when I was there the other night, I did try something that I had seen. It didn't work out really well, but I tried it anyway because it seemed like it would be a cool thing. I think maybe I went a little bit too heavy, but basically, it was just taking a standalone bench and putting it in the same direction as the bar, and then using a V handle upside down to press, which seems like the greatest thing in the world. If you could press in a hands neutral close grip, sounds like it'd be awesome. And I just couldn't quite figure it out. And the handle that I was using was not good for getting in and out of the hooks. You got to be able to rotate. So, it's something that I could have done a lot more easily had I not been alone.
Yeah.
And I went too heavy, thinking it needed to be heavier. And if I had put quarters on instead of plates, it probably would have been fine.
But that's what exercise is all about. Look at these girls trying to make their asses huge on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I've never seen that.
Let's next subject. What do we got? What's on the script?
Yeah.
Have you seen the girls using the abductor machines, riding them like reverse cowgirl?
I feel like
seen that?
No matter what I say, it's the wrong answer.
I just got an erection just from hearing about that.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Maybe, yes.
Where they're not seated.
Yeah,
they're facing the wrong way.
How does Jim know about all this?
Because
reverse cowgirl and stuff? What is he talking about?
I don't even know what
Jim,
that
you've
means.
been doing some weird shit?
Chris and I.
He said he's 54.
Yes. Hey,
I'm
54. I've seen a
You've
lot
been
of
around,
shit.
You've seen some stuff.
It's not my first rodeo.
Yeah, literally.
Anyway, Chris and I saw a chick doing this a couple months ago.
Did she break the machine with her vagina?
No, but it's like she was never going to stop. She went for like half an hour on that thing. It's like she was
for the weekend,
like a teenage girl riding a horse for the first time.
She broke that machine.
She broke it. Oh my god!
Squirted all over the place.
I didn't say that.
I think I might have. Yeah. But anyway, my point is on that is like you see these girls bouncing around. They're trying to develop some glutes to get the views and get the likes up, right? But you look at the exercise they're doing; they're just making shit up a lot of times, which is fine.
Yeah.
What does Louis Simmons do?
He makes shit up.
He's not trying to twerk, but he's trying to build up some triceps or some hamstrings.
Trying to activate different spots from different angles.
Yeah, and you jump around or move around in different directions, and you're gonna go, oh my god, I felt that in that spot. Cool, I'm gonna do that again.
I know that you've talked before about being at Westside and having Louis give you an exercise to do.
He stands here like this with his thumbs on his hands on his stomach, and his hands are like folded over, and he just twiddles his thumbs. And it's so funny because he's so short, and his gut protrudes out, so it just looks hilarious, and it makes him somehow look 3 feet shorter than he already is. Like you just want to pick him up by the armpits like a little baby,
like Yoda.
Yeah. What are you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, that he would give you some crazy exercise to do, and you would be doing it, and you do it for a couple weeks, and then he would come and say, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah. We'd call it you'd get Louie, like you come to the gym and whoever came in was new and excited and if he had someone like Smokey rolling there that likes bench, he'd be like, "You got to try this for your triceps." He's like, "You're gonna love this," and I'll just smash him. I'll have it do it, and if Smokey is there, a lot of times visitors at Westside, sometimes they'd be there for like a month. Sometimes people would take almost like a whole summer vacation and hang out there. So, he'd have him do the exercise, and then Smokey'd come in the next day, and he would be like, "Jimmy Pacifico used 80-pound dumbbells on that," and then you're like, okay, so that means you got to step your shit up because you're only using like 40s, right? And then you're going heavier and heavier on it, and then sure enough, just out of nowhere, he's like, "Why in the fuck are you still doing that exercise?" And he's got something new for you to try. Like and what he would do, what was great, is he would walk over to you and he'd say, "How many sets of that did you do?" And he'd be like, "I did 3." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, Jim was in here earlier today and he did 5 sets." And then he'd like kind of walk away and you're like, "Okay, I got to make sure I do like at least 5. I got to do 6 sets,
Yeah.
And then he would kind of look at the weights you're using. And I remember one time actually, I was having some shoulder issue. Like the back of my shoulder was bugging me a lot. I think it might have been from squats or something. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, you got to come to the gym and you got to do extra workouts and all this stuff." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, what should I do on those days? He's like, "Oh, just come in, go light, grab a 20-pound dumbbell and, do this." And I'm like, okay. So I go in there the next day and I'm doing all these really light shoulder exercises. I'm doing rotator cuff stuff. I'm just kind of doing everything I can think of. I got like 5-pound dumbbells. He comes in and looks at me like he's smelling shit. And he goes, "What in the fuck are you doing, Smelly?" I was like, you told me to go really light. He's like, he goes, "I didn't mean like that." He's like, "That's pathetic." I was like, oh my God. He is the king of talking shit.
Yeah. He just turned 70.
Oh my God.
That's like 12 weeks ago, I think.
That's awesome. It's amazing that he's still ticking. He's a guy that works his ass off but never sleeps.
Yeah.
He's got that Donald Trump sleep pattern. Whereas Donald Trump claims he sleeps like three hours a night or some shit like that. You ever hear that?
He kind of, yeah. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he tweets random shit in the middle of the night. He says weird stuff.
Toilet tweets.
So now that you've gotten stuck, is there anything else with the diet? You said intermittent fasting. Anything else you're going to try to?
No, other than
just see how that goes.
Other than just sort of rotating macros around and seeing, what I can do. We had a.
So you measure stuff? Do you weigh stuff and stuff
I've
too?
stopped doing that for now. I probably, when I get closer to the end, I'll probably go back to it. But
I want people like that are listening to really pay attention. You have to try.
Yeah, you have to keep doing different things. Yeah.
You got to try stuff. I probably made the mistake of bashing the measuring thing too much, and there's really no reason for me to do that. There's no reason for me to pull anything away from you that excites you or gets you to engage in any sort of fitness or health. I'd rather just give you stuff rather than pull stuff away. But if you're doing something and it's not working, why not just try something?
Try something else, yeah.
And also too, if your body weight is stagnant, what's easier, weighing your every meal or not weighing every meal?
Yeah.
Do you weigh your food and stuff like that? Have you done that before?
I used to do it a lot. I used to count my macros, use an app, the whole bit. And it was just a pain in the ass, and it kind of actually made my wife feel kind of shitty because I'm like over here weighing everything, and she's just like,
I remember
let's just eat dinner. Like I'm so paranoid over everything.
DJ Webb mentioned that too. His wife was kind of, I guess it would be annoying to be a female and have somebody else in the house acting like a female too.
Yeah, and I could see if
sorry, ladies,
if you're getting prepped ready, you have a show or something. But like I just live for fun. Like I really don't need to weigh my food at the moment. Right. So yeah, I just started using the scale, and if the scale moves, then I keep it going. If it doesn't move, then I adjust. It's pretty simple.
Your wife's looking at you, and she's like, "Why am I eating more than this guy?
Yeah.
Doesn't this guy want to be big and strong?"
That's what she tells me. Yeah.
What the fuck is he doing?
And I think some of my weight stabilizing has to do with just putting muscle back on, because I definitely working out a whole lot more intensely now than I was for a while there. And I actually did have a pretty significant 6-month break for a while there where I was pretty much doing nothing because I was just doing too much pain.
You had an injury that was bugging you for a long time.
Yeah.
And every time you tried to do something, you kind of met with some resistance, right?
It comes and goes.
Is it your ankle?
It's more than one.
It's got it's like me too. People are like, "How's your pec?" I'm like, "My pec's been fine forever. It's my fucking elbow."
It's my ankle is better right now because I haven't been squatting. I've been leg pressing instead of squatting, and I can leg press, and it's not an issue. My shoulder, I benched a couple weeks ago, and I was in pretty good pain after I did that, so I went in for my normal massage, and I'm going to go back earlier this time than I normally do.
It seemed like it's working pretty good for you.
The massage helps a lot. And then, I have an issue around C1, C2 with my neck.
Jim's rubbing his neck as if
very,
he wants Smokey and I to
It's very tight.
I can't reach it. Can you help me over here?
Wow, it's really burning. Yeah. If someone could just
yeah. Well, every time I have it worked on, it's a trust exercise because the guy, because you have to work on the front and the back, and it's in it, but luckily the guy is in the next office to me. He's a decent dude. I know he's not going to choke me out although he's a wrestler, but anyway,
you have to pay extra.
It's hard to get the front of your neck worked on. Those muscles that kind of turn your head.
Yeah,
they're weird too because you can grab them and it feels gross.
It feels super gross. Yeah, I have to
You ever have that done?
No, it sounds terrible. Why would you want someone grabbing your throat?
Oh my god, it's fucking weird. Well, there's muscles if you just turn your head and you can grab them
right here, yeah,
and you can feel there's tons of tension. But if you move your head around, we look like a bunch of fucking crazy people right now, and you can kind of feel. Anyway, most of us can't move our neck and head the way that we need to,
right,
and it causes all kinds of problems.
So that was really hurting early last week, I guess. And what I did to get around that is I just did a lot of unilateral stuff. I went in and used the machines you can use that will work with just one. I did curls and tricep extensions with one arm because it hurts.
What is that movement?
Is this movement?
Oh, okay.
That looked weird.
That did look.
That's one of my favorite things to do I
bet
in the gym though is using a rope and doing a superset of bicep curls and
beating off
and rope
the shake
extensions and then beating off the shake weight.
Why is it a cylinder object?
Tristan the other day, he's like, by the way, everybody, Tristan Scholl is back in the gym. The other day he said,
for those of you keeping score,
he goes, what would you do? You're in the middle of doing a set of curls and you kind of notice out of the corner of your eye that there's a new guy there and he's watching you do curls and he's beating off feverishly. And I was like, I'd probably tell Marcus about it. And then he was like, what do you think Marcus would do? I said, I think Marcus would either join him or he'd film it. He goes, yeah, he'd film it. He just walked away. I'm like, how the hell? How do we get into this? And he didn't have a smile on his face or nothing. He was just, how he's normally just flopping around in his own nutsack or whatever. He's got his hands down his pants.
Marcus admitted that he likes to film things. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe everybody knows that, but he made a point of telling me the other day.
He does. He films. He films a lot of the people that he trains. He films them from the other side of the room. He sees them doing something weird or stupid or whatever. He's like, or if they're just on the ground, some weird compromised position. He's a big and he sends it to everybody. He's a big fan of that. Catching people with their pants down, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I actually just watched one of those gym fail videos, and the pull-up things, the counterweighted pull-ups. Yeah. There was a guy sitting on one, just bouncing, using the handles, like dip handles.
You know why those are so successful, though? We've all seen people doing all that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've seen all that before.
Yeah.
I remember at Gold's Gym in Venice, I brought in, chains, and I brought in bands, and I brought in, all these different things. I would see, all the stuff that I brought in, I'd have to like lock it up a lot of times because it was like it'd end up all over the place. And I remember bringing in boards for bench, 2 board and like a 4 board and 3 board and stuff like that. And I remember the most common usage of it was to put it on a shoulder press and then just have they would sit on it and they would perform shoulder presses. And me and my brother used to just die laughing all the time. Like, if Louis Simmons could see this, he'd fucking be rolling over in his grave, even though he's still alive. What the hell are people doing?
That is amazing. I was here when
People are always doing weird shit.
I was here when Juan was benching the other day and actually held the boards for him. That was the first time I'd held the boards for anybody in forever.
Yeah.
You get in trouble? He's very particular.
I got through twice and I was okay. Normally with Juan I lift off though because I'm not so good with the 3-2-1.
It was great that Jessica tried to help him one time, just once. And he was like, you got to hold the board a little lower or something. She's like, I'm out. I'm not ever doing that again. She's like, don't ask me for any favors if you're going to complain about it.
Yeah,
it was funny. I thought that was great that she recognized that right away.
It's called
that he's like neurotic, and she's like, I'm out.
Yeah, this is not going to get any better. Yeah, there are people who have, worked on getting back into his good graces. I think you're one of them, Smokes.
Yeah, well, he's prepping for a meet or in his shirt. Him and I are best friends, and the second he gets injured or not in
it's all your fault.
me mode, then we don't talk for 6 months at a time.
Persona non grata.
Yeah.
I've been helping Smoke out with some weight loss. Talk about that a little bit. You blew out your bicep. You were getting ready for a meet.
Yeah.
How first of all, before you get into the diet, how bad was that? How devastating? Like, that must have been fucking terrible.
5
right?
months ago I got injured, and just to kind of touch back on genetics, like when I was born, I was dealt a shitty hand. I was born with my bladder outside my body essentially and inside out.
Jesus
and
Christ.
went through about
because you
26
mentioned.
surgeries.
Yeah, you mentioned on the YouTube channel,
Yeah.
you're like, I've been through a lot of surgeries, and I think because you're comfortable talking to us, you were like, I've been through 20 plus surgeries, and then a lot of people in the comments like, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, people thought I just tear my bicep.
So
every
now,
day.
hopefully, you guys feel bad and realize that he had a condition. He's retarded, as you can clearly see.
Yeah, it translates to my work too. So it's all
Bladder
good.
tarded.
Yeah. So
What is that? Fuck, what is that? I mean, is that literally your entire bladder was?
my bladder was outside of my body and inside out.
The inside out part is what really blows my mind.
So I was.
How does that? What does that look like? You're it's like it was when you were born. It was like open somewhere or
so
something, or like
imagine
something
just like
something
a
to close up.
baby closed up, but instead of their bladder being inside of them, it's literally protruding outside of their body.
Where is your bladder? Like near your stomach, near your
lower abdomen.
like near your pubes.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
pretty much ambulance to a children's hospital at birth, and then it was pretty much just.
Were you born
reconstructive
okay?
after that.
Otherwise, like your vitals and
Yeah.
shit were
Other than that, from what I
okay?
understand, talking to family over the years, I think I spent like a month in the hospital, maybe.
God, your parents must have fucking.
As I get older, thinking about my parents, like it just blows my. Like,
Yeah, you have dogs. Just think about
and I get upset when my dogs get her. I
think about
cannot
anything. Yeah.
imagine.
Even
like,
when even if you accidentally step on them, right? You're like, like
I feel terrible.
or you hit them with something by accident or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
You have siblings?
I have 2 half brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
Well, I
much
didn't think I
younger.
knew that.
Much
Yeah.
much younger.
Okay.
So having gone through that and basically spending the first 15 years of my life, honestly, like feeling sorry for myself. I knew that after this injury, I didn't want that to happen, and I knew it really did suck. So I was deadlifting. It was about 10 days out from a meet. I had plumped up to 197 to compete at 198.
So you're one. How much are you now?
I'm 178 right now.
170,
So I've
about 20
done 165, 181, was going to do 198, and so I was on my last and final set of deadlifts, and I kind of had a strain in my left bicep, and we kind of played it by ear, but I just had one more to go, so I went for it, and sure enough, just tore my bicep tendon, or ruptured it. So
Yeah, I felt really bad that day too. There's nothing worse than watching a training partner go down and watch someone get hurt. And you came over to me and you're like, "Oh, my arms bother me." I think you might have talked to Marcus.
Yeah.
I think you might have threw like a compression cuff on. You're like, "I don't know." You're just trying to get through the workout.
Yeah. Well,
you're like any and everything
the
will help.
discomfort was in my forearm.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's not my biceps, so I'm fine. And so, so I think I actually already partially tore it at that point, looking back. And it was just the final. I was pulling like 525 or something, and just the final pull did it. So went to the hospital. So anyway, we ended up going to Idaho a couple days later. I was in a sling,
we went to Boise.
We had a big trip ahead of us, and I didn't want to miss it, so I scheduled surgery for the
What
following
happened
Monday.
in Boise stayed in Boise.
Yeah, we can't talk about that now.
Had my butthole could talk.
Had surgery, and I knew I wanted to do everything I could do. I knew if I focused on the things I couldn't do, I would lose my mind. So I talked with Mark, and I talked with Marcus a lot. And they said, look, what can you do? I can control my food. I could drop some weight, which I was not feeling comfortable at 197 in general. And I could focus on the things I could do. So that's exactly what I did. You basically brought me under the wing, said you can move the tank, you can move the sled, you can do squats, safety bar squats, box squats.
Yeah, and at the time you were hammering all that conditioning stuff with us.
Yep.
You were, literally just doing whatever you could.
And we adjusted. We would use bands, and we would manipulate any piece of equipment we could possibly do.
I think that's kind of what we're best at here at Super Training is, Jim had both of his parents die in the time frame of being with this gym. I had my brother pass. Tristan had his, Silent Mike had his dad pass. And we've always, Dave Ziske, while I was here, his dad passed away. We've always... Whenever somebody has something happen, we try to get around them and give them a little extra. Sometimes, like, most of us are pretty motivated, so we don't really need that much. But it's more like, a text, a quick text. Hey, man, you coming in today? Oh, okay, cool. Like, I can't wait to see you. It'd be cool. Like, well, let's train together today. Maybe you make it a point to try to, like, outwork each other or something, or you do something to get involved. But those of you listening that have a friend or family member go down from anything. They get into a car accident. They fall off their bike and they get hurt or whatever it might be. It could be a training accident or whatever. Just, if somebody, especially if somebody ends up in the fucking hospital, that's a big deal. Just reach out to that person and see if there's anything you can do, anything you can help with. A lot of times you can't really do anything necessarily, but just you reaching out is doing enough.
And sometimes you can surprise people with stuff too, just to...
Right.
Whether they ask for it or not, give them something.
Right.
Give them, somebody's like physically down, like food is always great.
Yeah, I got a big package of jerky from the office. And then I also got a big a ship-a-dick. I got a big giant veiny bicep flexing dick
from shipadick.com.
Shipadick.com. Imagine my surprise.
Seriously, go look it up. It's worth it.
So not everybody knows this, but Smokey is our sales guy for the podcast as well. So if you see that we're being sponsored by Shipadick anytime soon, you'll know why.
I know why, yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah, you didn't know. You just found out.
What the fuck?
I do a few things around here, just a few.
I'm appalled right now. Why are people trying to make money? What the fuck is happening?
All we can do is try.
Oh my god. Anyway, back to your story. Blow out the bicep.
Blow out the bicep. Want to focus. I just knew I needed to watch my food intake, especially. I didn't train for like a couple days, but then I started training. Yeah. I just knew I wasn't going to be pushing as hard. My workouts were going to be short. We're going to be limited. So I just started watching my food intake. Didn't really measure anything. Just tried to keep protein high, carbs down. I lost 12 pounds in about 2 to 3 months, and then was pretty stagnant. It wasn't until Mark said, "You're going on keto diet." So I said, "Okay." So I didn't lose any weight at first. I was actually kind of bummed. I was hoping I was going to lose some weight.
Sometimes you hear people lose 15 pounds in a couple days, and you're like, "Oh my god, that could be me."
Yeah. But I had known I already had dropped my main, my 12 right off the bat, and had been at a weight about 185 was pretty standard for the last 3-4 years. So for me to go below that, I was kind of surprised. So I held on to that weight a little while. The good thing is I didn't experience any quote unquote keto flu or anything because my calories, I'm assuming, were high. If I wasn't losing weight, my calories were probably a little on the surplus side. And then weight started to fall off, started to do some bulletproof coffee and manipulate, do some intermittent fasting and some good things. And so I lost the final 7 pounds, 8 pounds, been hovering around the 177, 178 mark. And and then the plan is obviously as my bicep, I'm 5 months out, as it gets stronger and the tendon gets stronger, to start maybe adding a couple pounds, but just kind of fill out around the same weight and just kind of focus on my lifts.
Yeah, so what we did with Smokey is we had him drop that weight, and then right now we switched him into kind of what I'm doing right now, whereas I have some carbs. I might eat some rice or sweet potato, something like that. Just one serving of it on a daily basis, or if I don't feel like eating it, I won't. But who doesn't feel like eating some carbs?
Right.
They're fucking delicious. And then the other thing we do is we have Gatorade and orange juice post-workout, a la the advice from George Lockhart when he was on the podcast. And so I would say, the most amount of carbs that we're going to get is maybe, I guess on the high end, might be close to 200.
Yeah,
but
maybe
probably it's
150.
more. Probably
yeah.
it's more like at the most about 150, which falls in line with Mark Sisson, who just recently wrote a book called Keto Reset, which, by the way, you guys should get because it's a really, really good book. A lot of good information in there. But I think that, there's nothing magical about a certain amount of carbs. There's nothing magical about 150 carbs versus 300 carbs. To say that calories don't matter is asinine, and to be too worried about calories is also asinine. The accuracy of the calories gets to be confusing, and there's some people that are pro, for you weighing and measuring everything, and there's other people that are against it. And I think the answer always lies in the middle. If you feel like weighing something, if you feel like being accountable for it, you can be. But again, going back to what I said in the beginning of the show, maybe you just exercise more days than you don't, and maybe you just diet more days than you don't. And if you follow the 80-20 rule, which still might be a high level of accuracy for somebody who doesn't like to eat that well, maybe you're just in 70-30. But if you had 100 meals in a month, then 20 to 30 of them could be whatever you like.
Yeah. The biggest thing going to the keto is just eating whole foods. Most of my foods I eat is like a single ingredient. Yeah. That's a huge factor. I was before that consuming probably 100 grams of sugar a day.
I have a little bit of an issue with somebody when they're telling me that they want to be in good shape, but they're just kind of down in like protein bars or things that are really just super easy to get, like cereal, things like. I'm like, you're to me that's like you're saying one thing and doing another. Now if you feel pretty good about the way that you're built and you want to enjoy protein bars or different things, then fucking go for it, because it's not a huge deal. You're just looking for a little bit of fuel. Maybe it's something that you like to eat. Maybe you really like the taste of it. It keeps you from eating a candy bar. Then that's perfect. But if you're trying to lose weight, I don't think it's a great idea to have some of that stuff in there.
Just realistically, though, if you're not drinking a ton of alcohol and you're not like eating ice cream or cookies or
ice cream,
candy bars,
it all sounds
stuff,
amazing, by the way.
He's talked about ice cream a lot.
If you're not,
He said it quite a few times.
yeah, I love ice cream. If you're not eating those things on a super regular basis, on a daily basis, like how many carbs are you really going to get?
Right.
Yeah, you have to eat a lot of processed stuff to really get that in.
Yeah, it's like I think it's pretty easy to stay at 150 or below.
Yeah. Unless you're going out your way and eating a whole potato or a bunch of rice.
I think I may have mentioned it on the podcast before. If I had, just two things to say to you, I would just say don't overeat and don't eat over 150 grams of carbohydrates a day. And I think almost anybody listening to this, if they just followed just that advice and didn't really count or track or pay that much attention to anything else, I think they wouldn't be fat.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right.
But it's not easy to like always fall in line with that, especially, things add up quickly.
Yeah.
If you eat junk.
Smokes, like what was your build like as a kid and in your how old are you now? You're 30.
I'm 30.
30.
Yeah, I'm 30 now. So I've always been on the huskier side.
30, 40, 50.
Bam.
Boom.
Yeah, I've always been on the huskier side. I've never been a skinny kid. I don't know if anybody remembers Mervin's, the shopping place. My mom had to take me to the husky department for my jeans, but
meaning you had a bigger waist, or
I
husky genes, husky genetics.
I'm only 5'6", but I was probably that in like 8th grade. So I was, filled in quick and then just stopped growing. So
you got some pretty big pipes on you, pretty big guns.
Because I love bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding.
You love training them.
Yeah, so a little on the bigger side for the most part.
Because I was at 21, I weighed 134 pounds.
Yeah.
And I didn't break 200 pounds until I was over 40.
Yeah.
And when I started powerlifting, like the most I'd ever weighed is about 185 before that.
So when I was 20, I had a bad patch from like 19 to 20s, going through some stuff, and I actually was 180, and it is the fattest I've ever looked in my life. Like I look skinnier at 197.
You were just a skinny fat mess.
So although I maybe didn't tip the scale, I was probably in the 150 to 180 range most of my life. It was never a good 150 to 180.
Mm-hmm. I've always been kind of tended towards skinny fat, and that's the hardest thing for me to get away from is that, you know, I will accumulate fat where I would not want to accumulate fat. And
correct.
Yeah,
a lot of that has to do with, you know, once you get the momentum of exercising, it's just, you know, consistency, right? Like doing it for a long period of time, you can get yourself away from that skinny person that you used to be, or the fat person that you used to be, or whatever it is that you were that you don't want to be anymore, you know?
Crazy Eyes Steve came up to me in the gym the other day, and he was talking about a visitor saying, he was just like shaking his head, and this visitor was definitely on the skinny fat side, and he's like, this is what motivated me to start getting to get rid of that stuff. He goes, being skinny fat sucks.
Yeah, he looks terrible, and he looked even worse. He came in a string bean and then
He looks awful.
added 50 pounds to his waist.
Yeah, he's got that.
And I think his lifts went down.
He's built like a fucking bird.
Yeah, he's got that what they call the gynoid fat pattern, where you
everywhere.
more like a woman, less like the pear shape.
I would say woman's a fair description of him.
A womanly body.
He's and
Remember
this
Nickerson used to look like a lesbian?
Nickerson did look like a lesbian. Yes,
That was amazing.
he was.
He
dating,
went through a time period where he really looked like a lesbian.
he was dating a girl that made him look like a lesbian.
Oh no.
This is not a joke.
He looked like a fatter version of Hillary Clinton. And you're like, what the fuck? What kind of look is this that you have going on? And he had like that mom jeans ass.
Oh,
going on,
yeah,
too. It was like
exactly.
flat but wide.
This is why he grew the beard, I think.
Makes sense. But yeah,
He's-
beards fix all.
They do fix a lot of things. I wish I had done
Dick
this a whole
Lickerson,
lot
if you're
sooner.
listening, we hate you. Just you need to know that.
Speaking of adapting to things, though, we had another visitor in the gym on Sunday when I was here, talking about how he and his wife had done if it's your macros together, did the Avatar nutrition program, all that stuff. And my problem with that was I don't plan meals that far ahead, but he said they were planning meals like a week ahead.
And that's planning them, not making them.
Planning them, not making them.
Yeah,
So,
that'd
but
be
they
Yeah.
knew what that would be
That's
super
the ultimate
gross.
diet. Make food that goes bad.
It goes bad, and then you
Yeah.
eat it and you get
You
sick.
don't eat it.
Or you don't eat it.
Yeah, it gets fermented before it gets to your stomach, before it turns into
before
a
it ferments.
But he said that actually worked out really well for them, because those diets, the problem can be that by the end of the day, if you haven't accounted for all those macros or all those calories, there's either nothing to eat or you're eating super weird shit to try to
make
get
up for it.
to make up for
Yeah.
it, which is a terrible pattern, I think,
Yeah.
especially for somebody like me. Like my problem is any eating after 10 is a real challenge.
Yeah.
I got a
will eat
few
stupid stuff.
a few suggestions for people food wise. I think, again, a lot of times what we're faced with is hunger is one thing, but we're not always hungry. I think there's a movie with Danny DeVito, and he offers the guy a donut, and the guy's like, I think it was Danny DeVito. The guy says, "No, thank you, I'm not hungry," and he gets pissed. He's like, "When the fuck do you have to be hungry to eat a donut?" He's like, no one needs to be hungry to have a donut. So hunger is one thing. The sugar addiction is another thing. And sometimes just, I guess, socially, you have these lunch meetings, you have these get-togethers, you have these different things. And my brother-in-law is in he's in the food and alcohol industry, and he's in the alcohol industry basically. But a lot of his stuff centers around lunches and dinners and stuff, and because he's in the alcohol industry, it's just expected that everyone sits down, has a drink or two, they try a few different he's with a company called Young's Market, and it's just kind of expected that you're going to have a couple cocktails along with your food. And then again, the cocktails can lead to bad choices. Even if you have decent intentions and you have a salad, well, then you might just start consuming extra calories, and then the alcohol is never really great for you anyway. So anyway, it's just, we end up with these things where we get into these compromising positions, and you want to try to figure out how do I avoid that without being that guy, without being an asshole. And when you start to figure out whatever diet is that you're going to mold yourself into, I think that you can take pieces of every diet, and why not utilize some of the different things from all diets? Why not utilize some intermittent fasting? Why not use some stuff that we know from bodybuilding, such as meal frequency and eating smaller portion sizes per meal because you're having so many meals? Why not take a page out of the keto book and say, yeah, you know what? I know my buddy wants to go to that bar and grill, and really the only fucking thing I can eat there, or the only thing I can think of, is like a salad. And so, yeah, you are the guy that orders the salad while the other dude's ordering the cheeseburger, but you eat the salad, get the dressing on the side. You try to make a better choice. You try to make a better choice. Or if you don't want to be that weird, you order the burger, just like everybody else does. You get a salad with it, and you don't even have to say no bun. You just don't eat the bun.
Yeah.
You don't
have to comment on it at all.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a weird situation. But I think for most of us, we get in a compromising position almost daily with our food. A lot of times it's at night. For me, something I like to do, if I'm really hungry, if I have to, I will replace the craving with something. But that's usually the last resort. And that could be a shake. I'll use my Keto Pro. Sometimes I'll throw a scoop of peanut butter in there. Sometimes I'll just eat peanut butter out of the jar like a fucking fat kid. I have a product from a company called Keto Cookie. They make these cookies. They're pretty good. Sometimes I'll slap some peanut butter on there. That's enough sweetness just to kind of carry me through, and then I go right to bed. Other things that I'll do is... this has been really fun. It's been really cool lately. I've been going on a walk every night with my son and my dad, which has been awesome. My son's way out in front of both of us. I'm somewhere in the middle of my dad's. So it's like we're not even walking together at all. It's actually really...
could be on the phone together.
It's really funny. What's interesting is if all three of us get together, no one will say a word. And we love hanging out with each other. We hang out all the time. But no one will say anything. When we go on those walks, we're all like chatty Cathys the entire walk. But... I'll replace, wanting to eat some junk food with just going on a walk. Sometimes I'll replace it with just going to bed, which sucks, right? It does suck.
Yeah.
I'm somebody that takes a pretty good amount of vitamins, Tren being one of them, calcium, magnesium, all these different things.
Do they have that at Costco?
Yeah, it's a Kirkland brand.
Kirkland's.
The
Kirkland stack.
It's a stack, yeah.
Oh, the full stack.
The full stack.
Yeah. I've been getting the partial stack.
So... as dumb as it sounds, I'll load up on some of the vitamins and I'll down it with a bunch of water, and it's like that. It's not filling me up. I'm not going to try to sell you on the fact that it's filling me up, but it is giving me something else to do rather than stuffing my fucking fat face. What's the hardest part for you guys? The hardest part for you, Jim, with a diet? What do you run into where you're like, fuck, here I am in the spot again?
I'm not hungry most of the time, but when I am, it's really challenging. Like I'm starving at the moment, and I actually ate this morning. And
I think back to the intermittent fasting thing. I think if you eat, then it's really fucking hard.
Yeah.
When you wake up, if you don't eat at all, it actually seems to be quite a bit easier. Have you found that too? Because you've done a little bit of the intermittent fasting.
Yeah, so I
right?
think it's got to be at a certain range. If I do 14 to 16 hours, I think that's like the absolute max. If I go beyond that, then I just go nuts, and then it kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah,
but if I cover that 14-hour mark,
great observation.
Then I can do my salami or do the cheese or whatever it might be. I can then start a meal, not consume my entire day's worth of food at once.
Right.
And then I still eat more after that.
Yeah, that was some advice I gave to people too with if you're going to do a pretty long fast, anything over like 10 hours, that the first thing that you get to is kind of a small meal. Just for a keto person, you get to a couple pieces of salami, a couple pieces of cheese. Hour or two later, you have your meal, and maybe you have 2 full meals for the day and that one snack or something like that. But it's almost like you got to kind of prep your stomach for what you're about to do. Now, it's not in any way completely related to somebody not eating for days on end, but if you were to give food to people that haven't eaten for days, they'd fucking die. Because your system's not ready for it. So if somebody didn't eat for 4 or 5 days and they all of a sudden splurged on food, they could run into an issue. it's not the same exact thing, but when your stomach is so empty, you'll actually find that if you try to consume some food, a lot of times we're eating it too fast, not chewing it enough. And next thing you know, your stomach's fucking killing you. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's
So you get hungry.
yeah, just getting hungry sometimes, that's kind of the worst of it. I don't, in terms of like, food choices, like it's really just missing ice cream. And maybe I would probably have more alcohol than I do, but it's really easy to not drink. So it's just as easy to drink as to not drink. And so I would probably have a beer a little bit more often just because I like it.
Yeah.
But it's, in terms of, just making a choice to or not, it's super easy not to. And sometimes I've decided, I'm going to have a beer tonight, and then I just don't do it.
I was shopping at Nugget a few weeks ago, and I Stan has advised me to eat some carrots here and there. So I got some carrots and some celery, and as I'm walking around, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm starving. And so I just started to eat some of the carrot. And as I went to check out, the woman behind the counter, she's like, never seen anybody do that before. She's like, you're munching on carrots. Had everything in here, you're munching on carrots. But again, the point on something like that is just find something, some almonds or something to help. When it comes to the keto style diet, there's fortunately for us, there's been enough people to do it, and there's been enough financial gain for people to make money in the market space where there's been creations of a lot of great products. There's been a lot of things that have come to the market. Some things where I have actually been like, I'm not sure about that. I don't know how that would taste. The company Epic, they make bone broth and a bunch of other things. They make almost like beef jerky type products, but they make they have like a grass-fed bison. They have like this little bacon beef strip where I'm like, that's got to be disgusting. A bacon beef, like it sounds good, right? Yeah. Bacon, but a bacon and beef like piece of jerky. I'm like, that's got to be so gross. And it's fucking phenomenal. It's great. So there's a lot of options for you. So don't think that you always have to succumb to eating ice cream, or you always have to succumb to whatever those cravings are. You can fucking beat them.
Jerky makes me fart so bad.
Yeah. Well, it can, but I mean,
it depends on what's in it. But
yeah.
if they used powdered onion, powdered garlic, any of that stuff,
it just wrecks you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, it can kill your stomach. But these products, they're not, they're as hipster as could possibly be.
Yeah.
So you try to not have too much junk in there. What's the hardest part for you, Smokey?
My hardest part, two of them, I guess. One of which is night eating. Is just eating at night. When I was counting my macros, I would a lot, 700, 800 calories at night, and like clockwork, I would just overeat. I would eat it, and it wouldn't be enough.
Is that like a sitting down in front of the TV type of thing, or is that just like almost like, oh man, today was a good day. I worked hard, and I just want to kind of sit down, relax, and have a bunch of food.
It'd be training days or non-training days. So it would be whether I got home at 8 o'clock that night and just had a late dinner, or if I got home at 6 and I had a long time before I went to bed. It really didn't matter. I get really hungry at night.
Are you sitting down at the dinner table, or are you in front of a television?
Both.
A little bit of both. Yeah.
You name it, I'm hungry no matter what. So,
yeah, and I think some of that has to do with just you've probably been doing that for a while, right?
Yeah, and I have a really bad habit of eating in the middle, like waking up in the middle of the night, anytime between 12 and 2 a.m., and I just go nuts.
I would say that
I used to do that in high school. I haven't done it since then, but I used to do it in high school.
I don't know. It started the last 10 years or so.
I would say that your previous job might have been part of that too, because your work schedule was a little weird, right?
Yeah, I would get up as early as 1:45 in the morning and as late as 4 in the morning.
I could just imagine, like you come home from work, and especially if you're not much of a person that preps anything.
Yeah.
I can imagine when you come home, even if you did prep and had some food during the day, there's only so many choices of stuff that you can bring with you, and the freshness of those things. I can imagine when you get home, you're just like, oh my God, I just want to eat everything that we have.
But even if I had steak and potato, if I had a meal pre-made for dinner, or if there was a lot, it was on a plate, it still didn't matter. I still wanted more than what I had. So that's just purely
just a mental will of not doing that.
Correct. And then, so that's been part of it, is just trying to really just yell at myself to stop. But I said, look, if I'm going to eat more at night, then I have to eat less during the day. So whether that's intermittent fasting or
Skipping
less
breakfast,
lunch or skipped a
yeah.
meal or whatever it might be. I used to have a lot of food at lunch, and so I cut that in half or even less than that and saved it for dinner.
Do you ever eat because you're bored?
Oh, sure.
Do you eat because you feel, how I want to put this, like insecure?
I just like to eat.
Yeah, like I will. If I'm doing something I'm not confident about, like even if it's just work, if I'm not confident at what I'm doing, I will eat until I stop feeling that way.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I don't love being on a plane. So the only thing I can think to do is to I can sleep on a plane here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm a little claustrophobic, and I'm in the air, and I always think that I'm gonna fucking die, and so I'll want to eat, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I'm not that confident that we're going to end up where we're going to end up, and I'd rather preoccupy myself with something different.
You're not that confident you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up?
Yeah, I think I'm going to die.
He's a little unsure about airplanes. The other one sometimes is I will have this like drive to just feel full, like almost too full.
Yeah. Certain foods, if I was full right now, if I just ate a huge ribeye steak and potato and I was stuffed and you brought a pizza in, I would eat pizza.
You'd be ready to go, yeah.
Yeah. There's just certain things it just wouldn't. It doesn't matter. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to overcome some of those things, and I mean, really, the only way to really do it is just to do it. But again, you know what I said earlier of it taking sometimes several weeks and sometimes several months of just getting used to a diet. That's something to always keep in mind. And I heard someone a few days ago. God, I wish I could remember the resource, but it was part of this long-winded thing of talking about the importance of health, and then somebody just finally said health is not enough. And that's the problem, is that health is not enough. Prevention's not sexy. You know, Jim, if you eat this way, you're not going to have a heart attack when you're 70, but you're going to have it when you're 75.
It's that short-term goal, long-term goal problem. Most people have trouble with long-term goals because long-term goals pretty much only have long-term rewards.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't have a heart attack today. And it's the next day, I didn't have a heart attack today. It's like,
little goals.
Yeah. It's and so it's hard, you know. It's like those are not things that people, they do care about, and people do care about their health, I think. But you know, my dad, he is almost 70, and I asked him the other day, I was like, Dad, why do you think some people just, I said, to me, it seems like some people just give up. You know, why do they just, he said, well, you know, A, giving up is easy. It's easier. And B, we're all going to die anyway. So he's like, I think that it's easier for somebody to say, when I go out to eat, I like to just enjoy myself and not worry about it. And if I die at 75, you know, or if I end up in a nursing home at 75 and die at 76, or however it works out, that's probably where I'm heading anyway. And it's unavoidable no matter how I eat. I can't eat really well and then have a guarantee that I'm going to live to 100. And when I'm 100, when I go to bed, I'm just not going to wake up. You know, I'm going to die without any pain. So there's no sort of guarantee there. And so and I was like, oh, that's, at least from his perspective, that's what he thinks a lot of people his age feel. And I'd imagine a lot of people are in that boat.
I think that people just don't think about the fact that they can feel like shit and still live for a long, long time at the end. They can have constant like health issues and stuff near the end, or even the last 5 years or 10 years. I look at like my grandmothers, both of them were in just kind of crappy health, and they lived to like 85.
Yeah.
So from like, you know, 65 or 70 to 85, they had kind of constant health problems. Like, I don't want
long time to be uncomfortable.
I don't want to do that. You know?
So maybe you could have, maybe you can make an argument that you could potentially have less of that.
Yeah.
If you eat better.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you're trying, right?
Yeah, there's no guarantee about any of this shit, unfortunately. But.
Yeah, it's a real kick in the dick. All right, I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, sounds good to me. Where can
Anything
people
else,
find you,
Fasto?
Smokey?
You can find me on the grams, LIL Smokey ST, Lil Smokey ST. Yep.
You're trying to be
I'm
popular?
on there lifting. You'll see some of our MB slingshot products on there being used.
You're trying to be popular? What are you doing? Trying to start your own side business?
I'm trying really hard.
Fuck.
Is this going to be a permanent thing?
I got to watch out for you. I hope not. I think the audience will respond, and they probably won't be
Well, I've
happy.
had to go to the bathroom for the last, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I kind of need to go too. So.
1, 2, or 3?
What's number 3?
It's everything, all the above.
Just all.
Everything all
What's
at
number
once.
4? Is there a number 4?
There could be.
I don't want to do number 4.
Number 4 all over your face.
I want to do number 2.
All right, we're going to go do a War on Carbs photo shoot.
Yep.
We got machine guns and pizza,
And I get to shear you down, right?
and you get to shear me down. I almost forgot about that.
While you eat pizza.
Yeah,
Ew.
Jim is definitely going to be watching that, videoing it, perhaps.
Yes. Personal clutch.
All right, multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle. I'm at Mark Smellybell on Instagram and Twitter. Catch y'all later.
Shout out to all of our sponsors, 8-Band Apparel at 8bandstrong.com, bodybuilding.com for all of your supplement needs, Compex USA for cutting-edge muscle stem machines. Get an additional 28% off when you use the code PowerCast on all but the lowest price model. Reebok.com, home of the legacy lifting shoe. Increase your bench press at howmuchyoubench.net. Get 15% off slingshots with the code PowerCast. Power, the only strength magazine available in both digital and print at thepowermagazine.com, and Precision Nutrition. Get the free course, especially for our listeners, at get.pn/powercast. That's get.pn/powercast. I am at the Jim McDonald and all the social medias. Follow the show on Instagram. We are at Mark Bell's Podcast. We're out of here.